Hey Harmonizers, welcome to this video with little Alfie where he's going to be learning some jumping, and you're going to see some pretty incredible changes throughout this video where you're going to see some of his struggles and then how we help him and he becomes a little superstar during this session. So who's riding him? This is Coach Ryan, who's been coaching at our farm recently and doing a really great job, and she's got a lot of experience working with young horses and helping them learn different things. So it was super awesome that she could put some miles on little Alfie. And so here she's starting with doing pull work, and we kind of add things in little layers to help him learn different things. So for example, in the beginning, she'll kind of go in more of a proper position, a little bit more conservative with how much she folds over his back and kind of make sure she's balanced. And then as we realize he's okay with that particular level of what we're asking him to do, then she'll start to fold more like a beginner, like how a beginner rider would go. Like there you can see she's really folding over him, doing like a really dramatic, what we call a 2-point position when they're folding like that on the horse's back. And you fold on a horse's back, like stand up and fold a little bit to help be in rhythm with the horse as you're going over the pulls or the jumps. Just usually when you're learning as a beginner rider, you fold too much. And so that makes it a little bit tricky. And then here she's getting into a little bit of canter and started with doing the canter circle. And so it's kind of a funny, like it's a little bit harder for them to balance as you do the turns. And so Alfie was saying this is difficult, and he kind of got the wrong lead, and then he's kind of steering a little wonky. And I include like some of this, what you would call, I guess, bad footage where he's not being perfect, because I want you to see the progress that happens when we break things down a little simple. And it's super important to point out too that he is going to do this progress without any bit in his mouth. So there's no metal in his mouth, and there's no spurs on the riders. There's no metal jabbing into his sides, and there's no crop or whip or anything like that. And even though I'm filming her going around, I'm not holding a whip either. And so I want you to see that it's possible to make progress and to help your horse and to train them, not by just using more pressure and kind of getting force and intimidation in there, but instead by just making it more clear for your horse what you want them to do and that it's okay to do it. Because we don't want to push a horse into a place of being scared and get all flighty or anything like that. You want to kind of add in slowly the things you want to do. So there's a great example. There's a perfect canter circle to the left, no problems at all. And it was because we slowed down and showed him what he was supposed to do. And now he gets a cookie. So he gets to really know, that's what I wanted you to do. Thank you so much. And so then when he goes the other way to do a canter circle going to the right, he loses his canter on the corner a little bit there again. Doesn't have the same steering malfunction that he did on the other side, but he slowed down to get his corner. And sometimes horses slow down because they're just learning how to balance with the rider on their back. And there you can see he pretty much did the circle. There was just a couple strides where he broke into a trot. And then going this way, you can see again, he kind of broke into the trot as he came around the corner, which is probably just a balance thing where he's got to learn to balance. So we try to encourage and say like, okay, like this is what we want you to do. Let's try again. Let's balance and go through the corner. Make sure you're okay. But you don't earn the cookie until you complete the task. So there's no real like scary harm. There's no like smacking him or spraying him, any of those things. It's just showing him, hey, like you did it. Now you're going to stop and get the cookie. And then we're going to move on and go to the next thing. So he gets to learn that if he tries hard, he's going to get the ultimate rewards. So it motivates him to try even harder. And then we move on to the next task. So here we're going to go into the pulls, and then we start to get into some jumps. So you can see we set up some little cross rail jumps for him to start, and you're going to see some pretty interesting changes as we go throughout this video, because he's done some cross rail jumps before, which are these little X's there. He's slowing down to have a little poop there. And he hasn't really done vertical jumps, and he hasn't really jumped a box. So he kind of looks at it like, that's weird. That's a little creepy. And although I had him jump noodles in the box, I guess it just looked really different having a box under the pole, maybe with the other colored pole there. I don't know. It just looked a little funny for him. So all we did was just, have him walk over it, which is fine because these jumps are super little. And then here are the bigger X's. So he actually has to lift up his legs and jump a little bit more. And we're starting off at the trot because we want him to get really comfortable. We want him to know where he's going, place his feet okay, which is going to be a funny moment later on. There's a little vertical jump. And then the goal that we wanted to try was to start to add in more canter. So I had shown you guys a video, I think it was his last video, where he started to do canter after the jumps. But cantering jumps is not something that we've worked on yet with him. So we wanted to progress to that point where we would be trotting into the jump and then potentially cantering a bunch of jumps would be awesome. So here we're trotting in. She's doing those really big folds over those jumps. You can see she's like folding right down on his neck. And that's just helping him with realizing that people move, people sometimes do funny, silly things, and there's no reason to get upset over it. And so we practice all this stuff so that way if one day Alfie starts to do more jumping in our lesson program, which we hope that he will do, that he's not worried by a beginner, accidentally collapsing onto his neck or losing their balance and shifting onto him. So we always start not with any of that stuff. So that way they can realize that the rider can guide them and it's okay. And then we gradually add that in. So for example, the fact that he struggles with that box there, she's not going to do the dramatic fold over the box, only over the jumps that he's doing really, really well at. So like here you can see she's doing big 2 points. And he actually knocked over the little jump there, but that's okay. It was all about him just going nicely over the jumps. And you'll notice that we're actually doing the same pattern over and over again. We're just increasing the level of difficulty each time. And so there you can see she started to add in some canter. He just kind of tripped over his own feet there for a second. So I had to regroup and regain balance and get things sorted out before carrying on again. And that happens because it's part of the learning process. Horses need to learn how to balance with their rider. And Alfie errs on the side of being a little bit more on the lazy side than the super go-y, energetic side. And so for him, he's got to put in just a little bit more effort, and that will resolve as he just gets more experience as he practices this. So as we're going around now, you saw him start to add in that first little bit of canter with the jump. So now you're going to get to see him add in a little bit more canter. So we're trotting the jump still here, going over and going off. He actually finished with a couple little strides. Looks like maybe it was one stride of canter as he came around there. He's going to come across the diagonal jump and we're rooting for him. We're like, all right, buddy, like you can do it. Do the box. And he's like, I don't think I should. I could just go around it. Like, look over here. I can just go around. And so you can see Ryan does a great job of kind of turning him back and over. And it's helpful that she still insisted that he goes left because in Alfie's mind, he's like, let's just go right. Let's go around the box and go to the right. And so she insisted, it's like, no, we're going to go left. And you can see she didn't like yank hard on him or get mad at him, try to punish him or anything. It's just like, no, we need to go left. And then now let's try again. And so she goes to trot over it again. And he's like, no, look, we can go around it. So instead of like doing another big trot around, she just gets him to walk over it just to kind of say like that's the direction that we want to go. He clobbered it. So I set it back up for her. And then now he's like, oh, okay, trot it and lift my feet over. So we actually did it so well that instead of continuing the course, we're going to stop him mid-course and give him a cookie. So he knows like, that's what we wanted you to do. Like, that's awesome. That's what we're looking for. So especially when the horse is challenged by something, no matter what that is, we try to make the rewards specific to what the horse needs to be rewarded for. And in that case, the box was hard. You finally did the box correctly. So let's go ahead and give you that cookie. So that way you hopefully remember as we head into the box the next time to go over the box. So now she's coming across to that box again. And we're like, okay, fingers crossed, it's going to go well. And he slows down, but he goes over. So that was pretty decent. So she's going to continue on. And then now the goal is to try to add in a little bit more of that canter. And so you can see he kind of canter/trots over the jump. And we took down the second jump in the line to just make it a little easier for him that there wasn't as much jumps in the way, just to let him do a single jump at the canter. And again, coming across the next diagonal jump there, with a little canter. And so the striding was not perfect. If you're a horse person, you could probably tell that his takeoff spots were a little wonky, but that's because it takes a little bit of practice for them to figure out where their feet need to be to take off for the jump at the right takeoff spot. And it's a bit of a tricky balance of getting the right height of jump. We want the jump big enough that they have to actually try to pick up their feet, but not so high that it's scary or intimidating or likely to fall over the jump. So you can see now she's adding in even more canter, so getting that rhythm. Here he slowed down to a trot to be able to do his little boxes again and tripped over it because he spent a little bit too much energy on thinking that maybe he would go around it again. So not the end of the world, just kind of regroup. And then just starting over again here. So taking him back out with the goal being, all right, let's see if we can get a little bit more canter happening in this course. So he's trotting into his little pulls here, doing his little jump. And then look at this. He does 3 little canter strides, goes over the little jump pretty well. And then he's continuing to canter through the course. So this is technically his first ever somewhat canter course where he's actually doing a full set of jumps, like a full set of course of jumps, and then he's getting more canter strides in here. So he had those 3 little strides to that jump. He gets to canter this little jump here, goes straight ahead. We're not too worried about his canter leads at this point, just asking him to canter. So you can see he's still cantering around the little course there. He did end up swapping his lead and then ends up cantering this jump really nicely. And then to just make sure he finishes on a good note, Ryan brings him down to a trot and just finishes on the correct lead as he's going around there. So all in all, a super great way to finish the day for the jumping. If you imagine the transformation of just trotting the jumps and not wanting to do the box to doing the box and doing his canter jumps, I'm pretty excited. I think he's going to make a cute little hunter pony. Let me know what you guys think.
Remember to subscribe and check out harmonyhorsemanship.com for even more learning.